Hello, this is Joshua for Frost Dragon Designs, and today I'd like to talk to you about my Neurology Cat hard enamel pin. This pin is part of my More Cats Doing Science collection. The More Cats Doing Science pin collection features more than 35 designs of cats doing science and science-adjacent activities. Now let's get into the design. Alright, so neurology. This is, the study of neurons, the study of the nervous system, so the brain, nerves, that sort of thing. My original idea was going to be to have a kitty with like a big brain that he was looking at. But I have necrophobia, and sometimes things that I was not anticipating triggering it, trigger it. Necrophobia is an irrational fear of dead things. Sometimes this is triggered by bones. Sometimes it's triggered by meat if I'm eating something. Like if I suddenly recognize that it's, like if I visually recognize that it's, what part of the animal it's from, that can trigger it. I had a pretty bad panic attack in a grocery store one time when my wife was buying pork shoulder. And so I know some things that will trigger it, but other things just kind of sneak up on me and I had no clue that they would trigger it. Like photographs of a human brain apparently trigger it, which is weird because in college, my undergrad degree is actually in psychology and I had a focus in neuroscience. And I did dissections. I handled, human brains as part of the study of that. Did not trigger it, did not have an issue. Perhaps it was because it was in such an educational, clinical, sterile kind of way. When I tried to get reference photos for doing the cat with a big brain, it triggered and I was just like, nope, we're not doing that. Humorously, if I do even more cats doing science, I may try again with the brain, we'll see. But for this time out, it just didn't work out for me. So then I thought, okay, well, what else can I do? Because I want to have neurology represented. And I was like, well, of course, a neuron, a gigantic neuron that the kitty is studying. I don't know whether it's like a real neuron and the cat's very tiny or the neuron's very big, or is it a model? I don't know. I don't think scale really matters with these pin designs. I think all that matters is that we have the cute kitty with their book and something representing a specific field. And that's exactly what we have here with the kitty and the giant neuron. Now, neurons themselves are really interesting. They are basically our messaging system. They have a main cell body that has dendrites. It's the same Latin root as trees. So like that's because the structure looks like a tree. So those are, at the main cell body, that's that big squiggly part with the little tentacles coming off of it. Those are the dendrites. Then we have the axon, which is the long tube-like area coming off of it, which is covered by myelin sheathing. That's going to be like the yellow hot dog-looking things that are surrounding it. Those are basically like a coat around it, a sheath. That actually happens after your brain is mostly developed. It's called myelinization. It basically insulates the signals as they propagate down the axon. This is actually why babies are horribly uncoordinated with their movements, because their neurons are just firing off all the time and weird stuff, and they're not insulated from each other. That actually happens post-birth in humans. The myelin sheaths form on the axon. Then all the way at the other end of the axon are what are called terminal buttons or terminal boutons. I think they actually might be called axon terminals now. I don't know. Labels for things change over time. It's basically the end point of the nerve. And so at the end, if a signal reaches it, it will release neurotransmitters, which then may touch the dendrites of other neurons, which might send impulses down their axons. And so it's basically like a big network triggering. If you've ever seen like cloud-to-cloud lightning, it's kind of a similar thing where like one cloud will send off a lightning bolt and it hits another cloud, and then that cloud shoots off like two more lightning bolts. And so it's kind of like cloud-to-cloud lightning if you've ever seen it. It's a really interesting phenomenon. But that's basically how our nervous system works. And I find all this stuff terribly fascinating. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have had a neuroscience concentration when I took psychology. And I could probably talk about it for a while more just with what I remember off the top of my head, but it's really interesting how the human mind works, how our nervous system works. It's very complex, and I honestly think we only really understand like the basics of how it works. I'm sure as we continue to study it, we will continue to be amazed at the mechanisms that allow us to exist. And, I mean, that's kind of why science is important, to understand the world that we live in. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and hear me prattle on about neurology, or neurons anyway. If you did, please go ahead, like, and subscribe. I try to release 1 to 2 new videos a week, and I would love to have you along for the next one. So thank you again so much for your time, and have a great rest of your day.